Hello everyone. Thank you for watching this webcast. I am here with my colleague Alessandro Dragonetti from Grant Thornton Italy, and I am Philippe Tsarnavas from Grant Thornton Monaco. And today we will talk about this subject, about how Monaco and Italy is very attractive for ultra high net worth individuals.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Good morning, everybody. So we will discuss about this issue starting from the flow of migration after COVID 2019, where we can see a significant changes in the residence of many people all around the world. Secondly, we will try to find the economic, political, and fiscal reasons according to which people are moving from different countries. And finally, we will try to identify why Monaco or Italy can be deemed as a nice place for deciding to live on a permanent or temporary basis. So starting from the flow of migration after COVID 2019, the World Immigration Report issued 2024 clearly identified that there are economic reasons, geographical reasons, demographic reasons, and political reasons under the decision of a person to move from one country to another country. But if we look at the high net worth individuals, they represent a specific cluster within all the population of our world. And for them, the reason are a little bit different. Anyway, we will see better during this webinar. Anyway, if we look at the migration of high net worth individual in 2022, they were 84,000. In 2023, 120,000. In 2024, 124,000, and they are expected to be in 2025, 135,000. So a lot of people, rich people, that are moving or are deciding to move and are evaluating where they could move their residence and the residence of their family members. But which are the countries from where people are moving and where people are deciding to go? Mainly the country of residence, of origin of residence of these individuals are China, Brazil, UK, Russia, recently France. And which are the countries where these individuals are now looking for establishing the new residence? Okay, Monaco, Italy, of course, and Arab Emirates, and Switzerland, and Spain, and Portugal, Australia, and Canada. Now, which are the main important reasons according to which the individuals, the rich individuals, can decide to move from one country to another country? We can divide the different reasons in three different clusters. The first one is a geopolitical reason behind this decision. In particular, the personal safety, because there are countries where the safety is very, very unusual. A country where, like Monaco, the safety of the individuals is extreme strong. The quality of the medical and health system, because again, in the world there are very different quality of the medical of the medical system. The international context, so there are countries where is common to find people coming from different culture, different languages, a country where this is a little bit an exemption. Religion, reason, because of course this is, I think, is a very clear explanation, and the climate, the interconnection in terms of airport, train, highway, And finally, the cost of life. Even if when we talk about high net worth individual, the cost of life may not represent, of course, an important element of decision.
If I may add, Alessandro, I think also it's some movement, some relocation of ultra high net worth individuals are sometimes also due to opportunities, business opportunities, as they find new place to work and have new business and develop their business. Opportunities for their children, for their families. Maybe they want to have a new protection, a better protection of their children, and sometimes also retirement at the end of a long career, a fruitful career. Some entrepreneurs may wish to relocate to, as you said, for a better climate, better lifestyle. Also, this is very looking after regarding Monaco.
So, if we consider the personal reason behind a change of place of residence, we can see the different age of the family members, because of course to go to live in Monaco for a family without children is much more easy than to go to live if you have many children with you. Similarly, if you are old, maybe there are places with a climate extremely strong where to live is much more difficult. So the age of the family members represent a very, very important element to be considered. The second is the citizenship, because for non-European individual to come to live in Europe may represent a problem because of the need of receiving the proper authorization. For people that have a European passport or they are European, it's much more easy to travel in Europe. So you can imagine also with the United States how it's difficult to go there for having a residence there. And finally, is very important as a personal element, the duration of the change of the residence, because there are places where probably it's much more easy to decide to stay for 4, 5 years, 6 years. And because after 5 or 6 years, maybe the place is small, maybe the place is far from the country of origin, and a short-term stay may be convenient. There are places in the world where you can stay forever, so on a permanent basis, because they don't have any peculiar negative consequence, because they are not too far from the country of origin or because for any other reason. So the duration of the change of residence may represent another important element to be considered. Finally, there are the juridical reasons behind a decision of change place of residence. Of course, the taxation is one of the most important, because when a rich individual decides to change residence, of course, try to do not have any disadvantage, or probably to take an advantage in moving from the country A to the country B. And when we talk about taxation, we don't talk only about the individual taxation. We talk about the taxation of a potential group controlled by this individual or by his or her family. We talk about the inheritance tax and the gift tax. We talk about the wealth tax. So when we talk about taxation and the juridical implications, we have to consider a lot of different taxation, not only the most common, that is the income, individual income tax. Of course, as we can see, when we talk about juridical reason, we should also consider the reliability of the place in which we would like to go to live. Now, we are in Monaco. We know that the legislation in Monaco is stable since many years. This represents a very, very important element to be considered by the individual, because he knows that the rules are the same since many years. And when he or her takes a decision, the assumption behind, so the law is one, will be probably the same in the future. There are countries where this situation, this condition is not met. Italy, for example, in some period was or is not like this, and in some situation you take a decision and the rules can change, and if the rule changes, you can find a completely different scenario. And so, having said that, we can understand that the same need for identifying a place where to stay represent the element, the negative element in the country in which you are living now. So if I'm looking for a place safe with a good climate, this means that probably in my country situation is not safe and the climate is not good. So there is the opposite. I'm looking for something that maybe in my country is upset or is not so good. Okay, these are more or less this is the balance, no?
So the people looking for relocation are looking to match the maximum of criteria that will help them to choose the right jurisdiction and the right country.
Now, if we look at the Italian scenario without considering the juridical implications and the tax incentive that have been introduced in the last 6-7 years by the Italian government, we will discuss about this later. Italy, in my opinion, satisfied more or less all the main important condition we just discussed before. Probably the reliability of the legislation is the last is the less important because we have seen in the last 20 years a situation where the rules changed and it created some problem, no, to the taxpayers because of course as a safety of the country. Okay, we are not safe like Monaco is, and like few countries can be considered safe, but Italy can be considered just a safe place. We have of course a good medical and health system. We have in some cities, the most important, Milano, Rome, and other, a good international context, also in terms of schools, in terms of organization, in terms of community of people coming from different places, different culture, different languages, different religion. Religion, we are open, even if we have the Vatican close to our country, but we can be considered a place where there is a freedom in this area and we are inclusive in this area. And the cost of life is not so huge. The climate can be good, can be no good, depending on the place, on the season, no, that we are considering. And the connection with all the world are pretty good. And if we consider the European countries are fantastic, when we talk about the extra EU countries, okay, we have two big airports, but at the end of the day, I think that this condition is satisfied too. For the age, I think that we don't have any problem for receiving people, old people, young people, or a family with different members, different age, because there is, for everybody, there is a space. For the citizenship, we have some problem, but first of all over the world, there are a lot of people that have the Italian passport. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we have the investor visa, that is a procedure that can provide the, we can say, authorization to stay in Italy, depositing money in the bank account or money in federal bond. There is the elective visa, and there is also the possibility of being seconded in our country. So being seconded, this can overcome a lot of administrative issues and problems. And talking about the taxation, we will see later on, we have a lot of advantages, but just this is an argument that we will discuss later.
Regarding Monaco, to compare a little bit with Italy, of course, as you may know, Monaco has an excellent location in the south of Europe. Again, regarding the climate, which we said that was an element of relocation, I think Monaco has a privileged climate with more than 300 days of sun per year. The population is international also. The last study revealed that more than 140 nationalities were represented over the 39,000 residents of Monaco. As you may know, Monaco is famous for its major sport events like the Formula One Grand Prix, the Monte Carlo Master Tennis competition. We have also a nice football team who is playing this year the Champions League, I think against Milan also. Again, as you said, as a real important element was the education system for the families who are willing to remove. An international school is existing in Monaco. A brand new British school have just been opened recently also. Safety, as you said. It's true that Monaco has 3 times higher police officer than the average of the other EU countries or the countries in Europe. Health, as you said, also is an important factor. Monaco is finishing its brand new huge hospital, Princess Grace, and they have also private clinics dedicated to heart disease, for example. Everything is ready to attract high net worth individuals. And I will finish by what you started with, is regarding political stability. Monaco is a constitutional monarchy. And this is for more than 200 years now. And as you said, the laws are quite stable, and that will allow me to jump to the taxation subject. And tax is not levied. Private income tax in Monaco is not levied since the 19th century.
No, so this can be enough for say, okay, I come to live. Talking about tax incentives and fiscal regimes that the Italian legislation introduced starting from 2017, there are 2 that are particularly important. One for the high net worth individual, the so-called neo-residenti rule, is a rule expressly introduced in our income consolidated tax code. Is a rule extremely important that recently had an amendment, not marginal, a little bit significant, but not enough significant, in my opinion, for losing the appealing that our rule provided over the last 7 years. So, which are the conditions? The conditions are to be resident outside Italy in 9 years over the last 10 years. Fiscal resident, of course. So I don't explain in this context which are the conditions to be considered as tax resident in one country or in another country, but at the end of the day, mainly is to stay more than 6 months during the year, and to have in this country the center of vital interest, and in any case the intention to stay, and not just a formal stay without having the intention to stay. Okay. Anyway, the second condition is to be resident in Italy in the year in which we would like to have this regime applied. The duration of this incentive is 15 years, a lot, because when we discussed before about the duration of the change of residence, to have a period of 15 years during which you can decide to stay, and if you decide to stay, nobody can change the rule, or you can sort out, if you sort of this regime because you change place, you change country, nothing will happen, is a big advantage. Which are the main important effects of this rule for people that decide to come to Italy, were not resident in Italy in 9 years over the last 10 years? Is, first of all, they have to pay a flat tax every year of 200,000 euro for the foreign sources of income. So notwithstanding the size of the income generated abroad, they have to pay in Italy 200K and full stop for the foreign sources of income, not for the domestic sources of income. For example, in 2022, the people of this specific cluster generated 76 million euro income in Italy. This means that 1,000 persons, because the number was 1957, so 1957 individuals that used this regime in Italy in 2022 generated in Italy 76 million euro income, and abroad we don't know how much because they don't have to tax in Italy the income produced abroad. So 200K per year for foreign sources of income. They have to pay in Italy taxes for the income generated in Italy. They are exempted for inheritance and gift tax for asset owned abroad, so not for Italian asset. So if there is a problem of inheritance, the foreign assets are outside the scope of the Italian inheritance tax law. And they don't have to prepare, they don't have to monitoring the foreign asset as the Italian taxpayer must do. In Italy, Italian taxpayers have to declare to the tax authorities the size and the location abroad where they have foreign assets. In this case, the residents that opt for this regime are completely exempted from this obligation that, believe me, is not so easy. Which are the peculiarity of these rules? Is revocable, so if the individual decide to change country, can stop to use this, and can be extended to the family members. In this case, the family members that opt for this rule have to pay 25,000 euro and not 200K per person. So a wife and husband, one can pay 200K, the other one 25,000. They can split the is 100 and something more for person. There are the other peculiarities. One of them is that the taxpayer can do a cherry picking for do not consider excluded some country in this regime. So as a matter of principle, all the foreign countries will be excluded, but the taxpayer for personal reason can decide to do not exclude some of these countries. It's possible to ask for a specific ruling. Ruling is a confirmation by the tax authorities that confirm that the application of this rule can be adopted, and the ruling is not a condition. So it's possible to ask for this ruling, or it's possible to opt for the regime without asking for a ruling. The ruling can take, as in terms of time, from 3 to 7 months. So maybe in some occasion, indeed, the taxpayer doesn't ask for the ruling because doesn't like to wait. No, the timing for do not have any problem. There is another peculiarity that capital gain deriving from the disposal of qualifying equity instrument are not exempted if the disposal happen in the first 5 years of the change of residence. This rule has been introduced just for avoiding and is an anti-avoidance rule. At the end, they say, okay, if you sell in an important share of the company in the first 5 years, because it's a qualifying interest or is an important stake, you have to pay in Italy capital gain taxes, even if you are granted with this incentive. So, looking at this possibility, we can see that is a very, very interesting possibility, and it's very important to prepare the change of residence from another country to Italy in terms of prepare the timing, because if you want to be considered a resident in Italy in the year 2025, we have the calendar year is our fiscal year, you have to come in Italy before the end of June, but before, because if you want to have a ruling, if you want to have everything completely put in place, it's not possible to do this at the end. But in the meantime, if you have children, probably children have the school abroad, so there is necessarily a split between a part of the family with the children. When you have the split of the children and the family, you can have a problem for the residence, because as we discussed before, the center of vital interest can be even where the family is situated. So the timing is very, very important for opting for this kind of rule. Another is also a question of location of the asset of the family, because if most of the assets of the family are in Italy, apart that all the income generated by these assets in Italy will be taxed in Italy, and we fall out of scope of this rule. But in case of inheritance tax, all the Italian assets will be taxed. So before coming to Italy, also an analysis about the territoriality of the assets of the family should be considered. This is the most important rule for a network individual. I was mentioning before about the change that arrived. The change is in the amount of the taxation requested, because up to a few months ago, the law has been just published in the official gazette. The taxation per year was 100,000 euro, has been increased to 200,000 euro, so a lot, double. Mm-hmm. But the double for an amount at the end of the day can be considered not important. But let me say, in this change that the Italian newspapers and the doctrine a little bit criticized, because is again another occasion for demonstrating our instability, in deciding the rules. But in this case, there is an important and positive consequence. The rule changed for the new resident and remained the same for the previous one. In Italy, as in other countries, in some cases, rules changed with reference also to the previous situation. In this case, the rule changed from the day one and for the following years. So, and the decision to do not change the law for the previous cases represent an important element. Now there is a second law. I will just give some highlight, because for me it's not so important for a network individual, is the rule for the impatriates. In this case, is a law for people that were not resident in Italy in the previous 3 fiscal year, that will stay in Italy for 5 fiscal years as Italian resident. this rule provides for a 50% exemption on the income generated in Italy through the work. So is applied for employees, for self-employees, not for entrepreneur, not for income from land, from real estate, and not for capital gain. So only income deriving from the personal activity can be exempted for 50% or in some cases 60%. So it's a completely different rule. It's not possible to sort out of this law. So if you sort out for any reason, there are consequences. There is not an exemption for inheritance taxes. So is not so focused for high net worth individual. Is an incentive, of course, cannot be cumulated with the other one. So or the first rule or the second rule, but again, just to be mentioned, but not important like the first one.
So after looking at the Italian side, let's see how Monaco can be also attractive. As I quickly said, there is no personal income tax in Monaco, except if you're a French national. There is no wealth tax, no property tax neither, or council tax. No capital gain tax also, and regarding inheritance, there is still some attractive rates, as for example, there is no taxation in direct filiation, so between parents and children or spouse. The rate is 0. The rate rises to 8% between brothers and sisters. 16% to all other people who are not related. Regarding real estate, I will just give you just some rates regarding the registration fees of buying an existing apartment. They have been just raised a little bit recently to 6.25% if it's an existing apartment, and it's still 2.5% if it has just been achieved, like in the new neighborhood of Maretera in Monaco. On the professional side, Monaco is a business-oriented country, as you may know. Many startups have been born here, recently mainly in the medtech. There is still a corporate income tax, which is applicable in Monaco of 25%, which can be reduced to an effective tax rate of 10%, 10 to 12%. And on this still professional side, I would also underline the generous social security and pension scheme, which exists for employees of Monaco and for their directors. So I think that all of that is giving to Monaco some good points when ultra high net worth individuals are looking where to relocate and see when they are choosing the jurisdictions to relocate. So I think we're about it. I don't know if you have another word to conclude.
Yes, no, I would say only one thing that can be a link between the Monaco legislation, the Italian legislation. As you said before, in Monaco you don't have substantially taxes for people that decide to come to live here.
Exactly.
In Italy, with this regime I just mentioned, the situation can be more or less the same, but there is a potential issue to be considered when the individual that transfers the residence in Italy still maintain abroad a substantial part of his or her business and manages this business from Italy. Mm-hmm. Mainly we can imagine if there is a family office managed by this individual, that family office is abroad. So the simplest situation under which the individual has a family office in Italy per se does not represent, if is out Italy, this family office a problem, because the ownership of a family office is not a problem. But if the individual usually daily manage the family office or interact with the family office, take a decision for the family office, this situation may represent a problem vis-à-vis the Italian tax authorities. I believe, considering your speech, that in Monaco this is not a problem. So this is a big difference. So having an asset abroad, but managing the asset abroad from Italy, in Italy may represent a problem, so we should analyze in detail situation and condition. In your country, in Monaco, it seems that the problem is much more easy and simple, no? Okay.
So thank you very much, Alessandro, for this highlight on Italy and also the explanation on why and how do people relocate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.